see they were moving in. They tried to grab one of the protesters. The protester was able to pull away, but you can see them moving in and
Breaking news coverage of Fox News at night. That is a live look. You just saw what appeared to be some type of firework or explosion. That is in Santa Ana, California. That's in Orange County. It's about 35 miles from where we are right here. It's about maybe 19, 20 miles from downtown Los Angeles, where the bigger protests are happening right now. And this is probably 37 minutes, maybe 40 minutes until sunset in Orange County. You can see they've got some suspects that are on the ground that have been detained, and you're seeing kind of the same thing in Santa Ana that you're seeing in Los Angeles. You have police officers who are starting to detain some of these agitators before they can get things going. Earlier in L.A., we saw a man who was standing near a car. We do not know what he was doing, but he was
down from any of these cases. In fact, Homeland Security Secretary tonight on Fox saying they're going to arrest and charge protesters who are assaulting officers. So this is happening in real time, and it is the clash also, Caitlin, of immigration and law and order, two of the main issues of President Trump, all coalescing in this moment as people protest the methods of this administration.
And I also want to show what's happening in Austin. This is what's happening in Dallas. We also have similar scenes that are playing out, protests that are underway in Austin right now. Elliot, when you look at what's happening in Dallas there, I want to go back to that image that we were just showing. Obviously, things seem to be heating up there as you're looking at this scene right now in Dallas where they are clashing with the officers. A lot of people are looking at this, and what I asked to Tom Homan was, is this going to be the new normal going forward in terms of more National Guard being deployed to other cities as well?
Well, and it all depends, quite frankly, Caitlin, on what happens with the legal challenges to this implementation of the National Guard. Now, look, there are circumstances where the president can federalize National Guard. Now, there obviously
should have been. Just give me a second, Christine.
They were asked if they were put on standby, so when they needed them, they could come. They asked when they needed them. Them being on standby makes perfect logical sense. They then did what you do when someone's on standby: be quiet.
No, but did it work?
No, you stop interrupting.
You said that.
Stop.
They
then asked for them, and they didn't come. Period. End of conversation. They asked in the thick of the moment. They didn't get them. The difference here in California is the governor has not asked. That's the difference between 1992. If you want to talk about who's engaged in a political stunt, and I've criticized Gavin Newsom for being too political many times, but this political stunt is on the president, Donald Trump. Bringing in these National Guard has escalated the problem, A. B, they are not really doing anything, just escalating and adding tensions. And beyond that, it's a violation of the 10th Amendment.
This has allowed her city to be completely devastated with crime, and now she's holding press conferences talking about the fact that people have the right to peacefully protest and that they're a city of immigrants. Well, they're not a city of immigrants, they're a city of criminals, because she has protected them for so many years. And so
California specifically, the president told reporters earlier that if he were you, he would have the governor of California arrested. Can you just clarify where that stands and if that is something that you personally are advocating for?
You know, like I did an interview yesterday with NBC reporter here's the conversation was, as you and I talked about many times, you can protest if you want, you have that First Amendment right, but when you cross the line of putting your hands on an ICE officer, impeding our enforcement operations, knowingly harboring, concealing illegal alien, that's a crime. And I said last night, they can protest all they want, but they cross that line, we'll seek prosecution. And last count, we have just about 50 protesters been arrested, criminally being prosecuted for violating the law. And when I reported asked me, would that include politicians like Mayor Bass or Governor Newsom? I said, well, of course. It includes anybody that commits a crime.
But Governor Newsom has not done anything to warrant an arrest in your view right now, correct?
I don't see him.
Not at this time, absolutely not. Officers and protecting the general public. I think the President Trump did exactly the right thing. He's trying to prevent another Minnesota from 2020, trying to prevent another Portland and Seattle tragedy. So I'm happy he deployed National Guard.
Well, speaking of 2020, there was a comment that the president made then about whether or not he could deploy and activate the National Guard. I want you to listen to what he said then.
We have laws. We have to go by the laws. We can't move in the National Guard. I can call insurrection, but there's no reason to ever do that, even in a Portland case. We can't call in the National Guard unless we're requested by a governor.
The law, of course, has not changed since then. So what has?
You know, I'm not an attorney, and all I know is I'm on calls every day with the heads of DOD and DOJ. So we got legal minds in DOJ and DOD, excuse me, and DOJ are making these decisions. So I certainly think the president's acting within the confines of the law. I mean, I'm on phone calls every day, and these lawyers are making these decisions, so I stand by it.
But I think some people may look at that and say, well, one, you know the law very well. Obviously, you worked in deportations when President Obama was in office. You're now back in this role.
I know immigration law very well, but I do not. I'm not an expert on constitutional law or insurrection law or national. You know, that's out of my lane. I simply am thankful that whatever President Trump decided, that was backed up by attorneys in Department of Justice and Department of Defense. I'm just glad he deployed those National Guards here, because I think we're saving lives. I think to protect them properly.
Well,
you spit on a federal law enforcement officer, no more. As President Trump said, you spit, we hit. Get ready. If you spit on a federal law enforcement officer, we are going to charge you with a crime federally. You are looking at up to 5 years maximum in prison. You spit on a federal law enforcement officer, no more. As President Trump said, you spit, we hit. Get ready. If you spit on a federal law enforcement officer, we are going to charge you with a crime federally. You are looking at up to 5 years maximum in prison. Sean, what we're going to do is we are going to enforce the law regardless of what they do. Look at it out there. It looks like a third world country, and it's not. It's the United States of America. We are not standing for it. Donald Trump won't stand for it. And some
is endorsing these kind of activities, has allowed her city to be completely devastated with crime, and now she's holding press conferences talking about the fact that people have the right to peacefully protest and that they're a city of immigrants. Well, they're not a city of immigrants. They're a city of criminals, because she has protected them for so many years. And so we're coming in and doing what the president has said that he's going to do, and he's going to allow people to live in a safe community again. And we're going to use the authority that he has as president of the United States to conduct these operations. And the more that people conduct violence against law enforcement officers, boy, we're going to hit them back, and we're going to hit them back harder than we ever have before. And the more that people conduct violence against law enforcement officers, boy, we're going to hit them back, and we're going to hit them back harder than we ever have before. And we conducted more operations today than we did the day before. And tomorrow we're going to double those efforts again. The more that they protest and commit acts of violence against law enforcement officers, the harder ICE is going to kind of come after them, because these people are patriots. These ICE officers are people who are fighting for their country, and I'm so proud of them. They've acted with dignity. They've acted with grace under stressful situations. And when they've been disrespected, they've responded appropriately under the law to make sure that they were treating every single individual the same and making sure that due process was followed and that they were doing their jobs. So
they know where the serious criminal offenders are, and they send folks out to get them. They don't just go massively round up people. Think about this, Jake. U.S. Marshal was picked up. U.S. citizens are being picked up. I mean, this is not an effort to really get criminals. It's an effort to see, let's see who we can just sweep up along the way. And why are they doing this? Because this president said he was going to deport millions of people, and the numbers have not been adding up. You know why? Because there aren't that many serious criminal offenders that are the millions of people that he wants to round up. So now he's getting our neighbor and our friend and the people that you all know, people that we've been here, that have been here for decades. And that is, I think, the outrage that you're seeing happening across this country. And it's not just in Los Angeles. Clearly, we've seen protests in other parts of the country, against what is happening. What the president's doing, though, is a complete escalation. I think it's a violation of the law. I think it's an abuse of power.
How is it a violation of the law? I mean, ICE is allowed to deport people.
No, I'm talking about overall what he's doing. He's now sending in the National Guard.
The seizing of the National Guard.
I mean, now he's sending the Marines in. They're threatening to arrest the governor. I mean, now they're arresting Congress members. I mean, this is a fear tactic to try to get people to not do their jobs. And even members of Congress who it's written in law, you can go do the oversight into these detention centers.
Right.
They're not allowing it to happen.
Right now, I saw Congresswoman.
Obliterated.
They made downtown Los Angeles a no-go zone. I mean, the police, because of all the unrest. But I hear what you're saying, and as you can see, we are showing the peaceful images right now. So I understand your complaint, but you know.
It's a very small part of Los Angeles. I just want to remind people. And if you go to certain parts of the city, they don't even know what's happening.
I get that, but still, I mean, 5 cars set on fire is still a lot of cars set on fire, even if most cars are not. But we appreciate your being here.
And we condemn that violence, and those people should not be out, and those people should be arrested. No doubt about that.
Okay. Democratic Congresswoman Nanette.
We have breaking news now from the Pentagon. CNN can now report that roughly 500 Marines are being mobilized in response to the protests in Los Angeles.
And this is a significant escalation from President Trump, who had activated National Guard troops over the weekend without Governor Gavin Newsom's consent. In this new move, active duty military members are being deployed as a show of force against U.S. citizens. CNN's Natasha Bertrand is live for us at the Pentagon. Natasha, what are you learning?
Well, Brianna, this is something that Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth had previewed over the weekend. He said that if necessary, he would deploy the Marines to Los Angeles to help federal agents with handling the protests there. And it appears now that these Marines, according to our sources, they have been mobilized. These 500 Marines, a full Marine battalion based out of 29 Palms, California, which is just outside San Bernardino, about an hour away from Los Angeles. They have been mobilized, and they are gearing up to go and help ICE agents as well as other federal officials deal with these protests in Los Angeles. Importantly, they're going to be bolstering as well the National Guard, guardsmen and women who have been activated in Los Angeles by President Trump. But as you said, it is a significant escalation of the president's use of the military as a show of force against these protesters. It's really not clear, the last time Marines were deployed to help essentially with riot control, though it's unclear at this point just what their actual tasking will be. Typically, if they are deployed to these situations, it is expected that they will operate in much the same way that the National Guard does, doing things like perimeter security, maybe some crowd control. But the rules of engagement here, we are told, are still being finalized, and Defense Department lawyers are also looking at the kinds of rules of engagement these Marines will have as they encounter protesters possibly on the streets of Los Angeles. But again, this coming at a very, very tense moment with the governor of California suing the Trump administration over, of course, the deployment of the National Guard by President Trump against his will there in California.
And Natasha, during his
scene feature about this. All right, President Trump just arrived at the White House. He's talking with reporters. Let's watch.
He's done a terrible job. Look, I like Gavin Newsom. He's a nice guy, but he's grossly incompetent. Everybody knows. All you have to do is look at the little railroad he's building. It's about 100 times over budget. We're putting a flagpole over there. Under budget. I always do under budget.
What does your intel tell you about these people causing all the problems in LA? Are they people ICE is trying to deport, or are they professional agitators?
The people that are causing the problem are professional agitators. They're insurrectionists. They're bad people. They should be in jail. Thank you.
Mr. President, will you invoke the Insurrection Act?
Competent.
All right, so he took 2 questions from reporters. That was very quick. The president coming back just moments ago. We wanted to show you that.